Hi guys, I made this video as requested by Ma'am Lorraine for the sake of those who were not able to attend the online session last Friday. This is Unpacking Learning Competencies for the English group. We have here three objectives. Make explicit connections between learning curriculum standards and the competencies. Understand the steps in unpacking learning competencies and demonstrate knowledge and skills in unpacking the English curriculum. The third objective will be done by you at home or as you work from home. Let's have an overview of the English language arts curriculum using this diagram. So the first is the program standard. Program standards are the knowledge and skills the learners are expected to achieve at the end of junior high school. That's for grades 7 to 10. For grades 11 and 12, that's senior high school. Next is the grade level standards, which refer to the knowledge and skills that learners are expected to achieve in a particular grade. Content standards describe the knowledge and skills that students should attain, often called the what of what students should be able to do. Next is the performance standards. These are concrete statements of how well students must learn what is set out in the content standards, and it is often called the be able to do of what students should know and be able to do. If the content standard is the what, performance standard is the how or the skill. And then we have here learning competencies. These refer to the knowledge, understanding, skills, and attitudes that students need to demonstrate in every lesson or learning. We have here also domains, and the English language arts curriculum has 8 domains. So we have here reading comprehension, listening comprehension, viewing comprehension, vocabulary development, literature, writing and composition, oral language and fluency, and grammar awareness. For additional knowledge, I have included the different parts of the competency code. So we have here EN, that is the subject area, which is English. The number 8 is the grade level. OL is the domain, which is oral language and fluency. Then we have here Roman numeral number 1, that's the quarter, which is quarter 1, followed by a small letter, which is the week. So if it's C, that's the third one. And the last there is the competency number, which is 3.11. Okay, so how do we unpack learning standards or competencies? Do we need to unpack all of them? We learn the answers to these questions today. So step 1 in unpacking standards or competencies is identifying the content, skill, or the verb and the noun. So in this example from English 10, can you identify the content and the skill or the verb and the noun? Okay, so the content here is claims of fact, policy, and value. And the skill is formulate. So the content is the noun and the verb is the skill. All learning competencies have a verb and a noun. So if you remember in the diagram a while ago, we have there the content standard and the performance standard. So it's the verb, the content standard is the noun, and the performance standard is the verb. So in these examples from English 9, I have highlighted all the contents. So as you can see, you have here use modal verbs, nouns, and adverbs appropriately. Express permission, obligation, and prohibition using modals, and cite evidence to support a general statement. So in the first example, the skill is to use modal verbs. In the second example, the skill is to express permission, obligation, and prohibition. And the third one, the skill or the performance is cite to support a general statement. So that's the first step. Step 2 is identifying the content complexity. So how difficult is the competency? Can the students perform it without a prerequisite knowledge? So for this example from English 10, so formulate claims of fact, policy, and value. Is this difficult for the students? Can they perform this one without any prior knowledge or without any prerequisite knowledge? So how to uh, identify the difficulty or the complexity of a learning competency? So we use the Bloom's taxonomy in identifying. So using Bloom's taxonomy, what level of cognitive skills does formulate belong to? So it's at the top of the pyramid. And what does it mean? Is it difficult? The answer is yes, since the learner needs to remember first, understand, apply, analyze, and evaluate before she can create or formulate. So you need to unpack or subtask the competency into smaller chunks or objectives. What if the competency is at the bottom of Bloom's taxonomy? Just like remember. There's no need to unpack if the competency is at the bottom or at remembering, just like define, duplicate, list, or memorize. Sometimes the competency is in the middle of the pyramid. So, as the teacher, you analyze if the learner can perform the skill without any prior knowledge and decide if you need to unpack. If the skill is under understand, you need to give an objective first under remember for them to understand. So you follow the progression of the Bloom's taxonomy. The last step in unpacking is writing student-friendly objectives. So after you have identified the content and the skill, and after you also identified how difficult is the competency, the last one is to unpack it in a friendly way. So it's writing student-friendly objectives. So for our example, in formulating claims of fact, policy, and value, we can have these student-friendly objectives. So define claims of fact, policy, and value. Another is to give examples of claims of fact, policy, and value, and identify claims of fact, policy, and value. These three can be under remembering and understanding. Okay, on going up on the top of the top of the pyramid, we can also have use claims of fact and compare and contrast. These two are under applying and analyzing. Okay, going to the topmost part of the pyramid, we have the skills, select, and formulate. Since formulate is under creating, it is understood that it will be the less objective. So let's look at this one. Okay, we have there select and formulate. Okay, so for our instructional materials or lesson plans, there should be at least 3 objectives. Why 3? Using the KUD pattern or know, understand, or do, there must be one objective for the K, one for the U, and one for the D. So how about if the competency is found in the middle or bottom of the pyramid? For instance, from English 7, here is the competency. Give the meaning of given signs and symbols. So that's road signs, prohibited signs, and others. If we look at Bloom's taxonomy, the competency falls under understand, which is the second level. So how do we write our at least three objectives if the competency is only at the second level of Bloom's taxonomy? Let's have this example. So we have here, the first is starting from remembering, list down different signs and symbols. That is road signs, prohibited signs, and others. The second one is give the meaning of given signs and symbols. This is now the learning competency found in the CG. The third one is organize the symbols according to their location. That is understand. And the last one is design a new prohibited sign for your SDRRM. That is now the do, the D. So The KUD is evident in these four objectives. We have the know, the understand, and the do. So each learning competency makes up the great puzzle of the junior high school program standard. These learning competencies or standards are the foundations of the English language arts curriculum. This is the reason why we need to let our learners master each competency, especially those listed in the MELCs or the most essential learning competencies. So to make up the great puzzle. We can use Bloom's taxonomy or the KUD to create logically sequenced lesson plans. What else? Assessment tools and instructional materials like modules, worksheets, or your SIMs. If the learners need a prerequisite skill to perform the competency standard, you need to unpack or subtask. That's an important reminder for this session. So the question is, are the learners ready to explain the literary devices used? If not, then you need to unpack the learning competency. Another reminder, align objectives, activities, and assessments. So in your instructional materials or in your lesson plans, always align your activities and assessment tools to the objective or the competency. So at the end of each lesson or at the end of your module, you need to ask the question, were the objectives met? Okay. To sum it up, curriculum standards are broken down into learning competencies. And when unpacking learning standards or competencies, you need to identify first the content and the skill. That's your noun and the verb. Next is you identify the complexity or the difficulty using the Bloom's taxonomy. And the last one is we're going to write now your student-friendly objectives. And reminder, you need to use or create at least 3 objectives per lesson or per instructional material.